Eric Lawson's fingers drummed nervously against his thigh as he checked his watch for the 5th time in 10 minutes. The elementary school auditorium was filling up quickly, and he'd promised Lily the best seat in the house for her piano recital. At 9 years old, his daughter had discovered a passion and talent for music that amazed him daily, especially since neither he nor her absent mother had a musical bone in their bodies. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" Eric looked up to find a woman with warm hazel eyes gesturing to the empty chair beside him. Something about her seemed vaguely familiar, but he couldn't place it. "No, please," he said, moving his worn jacket to make space. "I'm saving the aisle for when I inevitably have to record my daughter's performance." The woman smiled as she sat down. "Which one is yours?" "Lily Lawson. Second half, playing Debussy." "Impressive choice for a child," she replied, her eyes brightening with genuine interest. "I'm Willow Wilson. I'm here for my niece, Hannah." Eric nodded, surprised by the flutter in his chest at the simple introduction. It had been 3 years since Lily's mother walked out, claiming parenthood had never been her dream. 3 years of working double shifts at the construction site and picking up handyman jobs on weekends just to keep their small 2-bedroom apartment. 3 years of barely looking at another woman. The lights dimmed, interrupting his thoughts, and the recital began. When Lily took the stage in the simple blue dress they'd found at a thrift store, her chestnut hair pulled back in a neat bun he'd struggled to perfect that morning, Eric felt his chest swell with pride. His little girl looked so grown up, so poised. Willow leaned over, her whisper soft against his ear. "She looks just like you." Then Lily began to play, her small fingers dancing across the keys with surprising confidence. The piece flowed through the auditorium, and Eric forgot everything else. He raised his phone to record, catching the moment when Lily glanced up from the keys, found his face in the crowd, and smiled without missing a note. When she finished, Eric was on his feet before he realized it, clapping with unrestrained enthusiasm. Beside him, Willow stood too, her applause just as enthusiastic. "Your daughter is remarkable," Willow said as they retook their seats. "How long has she been playing?" "Just 2 years," Eric replied, unable to hide the pride in his voice. "Her teacher says she's gifted, but lessons are." He stopped himself, uncomfortable admitting their financial struggles to a stranger. Willow seemed to understand what he didn't say. Music education is a significant investment. The rest of the recital passed with occasional whispered commentary between them. Eric found himself drawn to Willow's insights about the performances. She clearly knew music in a way he didn't. When the final bow concluded and the lights came back up, he felt an unexpected disappointment that their brief encounter might be ending. "Dad." Lily rushed down the aisle, throwing herself into his arms with a bouquet of flowers he'd splurged on clutched in her hand. "Did you see? I didn't mess up the hard part. You were perfect, sweetheart," he said, lifting her for a proper hug. "I recorded the whole thing for Grandma to see." Lily's attention shifted to the woman beside him. "Hello," she said with the direct confidence of a child. "Lily, this is Miss Wilson. She was sitting next to me during your performance." "You play beautifully," Willow said, her smile genuine. "That Debussy piece is challenging, but you made it sound effortless." Lily beamed. "Are you a musician too? You talk like Miss Garcia, my teacher," Willow laughed. "I studied piano many years ago. Now I just enjoy listening to talented young performers like you." A small girl with curly red hair bounded up to them, tugging on Willow's sleeve. "Auntie Will, did you see me? I didn't forget any words this time." "You were amazing, Hannah," Willow said, embracing her niece. "Eric, Lily, this is my niece Hannah," she sang over the rainbow. "You had the best voice," Lily told Hannah with decisive authority. "I wish I could sing like that." The two girls quickly launched into animated conversation, comparing performance experiences with the boundless energy of children. Eric watched his daughter with contentment, glad to see her connecting with a peer who shared her interests. "They seem to be hitting it off," Willow observed. Eric nodded. Lily doesn't always find it easy to make friends. Music is her comfort zone. Hannah's the same way. My sister says she's shy everywhere except on stage. Willow hesitated for a moment before continuing. There's a small reception in the cafeteria. Would you two like to join us? Eric glanced down at his watch, calculating. He had an early shift tomorrow, but the joy on Lily's face as she chatted with Hannah made the decision easy. We'd like that. The cafeteria was decorated with streamers and a modest spread of cookies and punch. Eric noted how Willow seemed to know many of the parents and teachers, greeting them with easy familiarity. He felt somewhat out of place in his faded jeans and work boots among the business-casual attire of most other parents, but Willow made no indication she noticed or cared. "So, what do you do, Eric?" she asked as they watched the girls examining the cookie selection with serious deliberation. "Construction management by day, handyman by weekend," he answered with a self-deprecating smile. "Nothing glamorous, but it keeps us afloat." "That sounds incredibly demanding," Willow said. "Especially as a single parent," Eric nodded, appreciating that she'd phrased it as a question rather than an assumption. "Lily's mom left when she was 6. It's been just us since then." "I'm sorry," Willow said, her expression softening. "That must have been difficult for both of you." "It was harder on Lily at first," Eric admitted, "but kids are resilient. Now sometimes I think she prefers our little team of 2. He paused, feeling he'd shared too much. "What about you? What keeps you busy when you're not attending recitals?" A slight hesitation crossed Willow's face. "I work in financial services, investment management primarily." Eric nodded, assuming she was some kind of bank manager or financial advisor. "Sounds more interesting than pouring concrete." Before Willow could respond, Lily and Hannah rushed over, cookie crumbs on their lips and excitement in their eyes. "Dad, Hannah takes lessons at Westside Music Academy too, and they're having a summer camp for piano and voice," Lily exclaimed, her words tumbling out rapidly. "Can I go, please?" Eric felt the familiar tightness in his chest that accompanied unexpected expenses. "We'll have to look into it, Lily Bug. Those camps can be pretty expensive." Hannah tugged on Willow's hand. "Auntie Will, can you tell them about the scholarships, like the one you helped me get?" Willow nodded, her expression brightening. "The Academy does offer several scholarships for talented students. Based on what I heard today, Lily would be a strong candidate." Hope flickered in Lily's eyes, and Eric couldn't bear to extinguish it. "That sounds worth exploring," he said, pulling out his phone. "Mind if I get your number to discuss the scholarship details, I mean?" Willow's smile widened as she recited her number. "I'm happy to help however I can." As the evening wound down and they prepared to leave, Eric found himself reluctant to say goodbye. Something about Willow's unassuming kindness and the way she spoke to Lily with genuine respect had left an impression. "It was really nice meeting you both," Willow said, her gaze lingering on Eric for a moment longer than necessary. "You too," he replied, suddenly feeling like a teenager again. "I'll be in touch about that camp." The drive home was filled with Lily's excited chatter about Hannah, the camp, and how she might finally learn to sing properly. Eric listened, occasionally glancing at his phone on the dashboard, where Willow's contact information now resided. The next morning, after dropping Lily at school, Eric arrived at the construction site with Willow still occupying his thoughts. The renovation of the old theater downtown was behind schedule, and as project manager, he needed to focus. But during his lunch break, he found himself composing a text message. "Hi, Willow. It's Eric from the Recital. Hoping you might have some information about those music camp scholarships when you have a moment. No rush." He hit send before he could overthink it, then tucked his phone away and returned to coordinating deliveries and subcontractor schedules. It wasn't until late afternoon that he checked his messages again. "Hello, Eric. Actually, there's an information session at Westside Academy tomorrow at 6 p.m. I'll be there with Hannah if you and Lily would like to join us." Eric smiled, feeling an unexpected lightness. He quickly responded that they would be there. The next evening, after a rushed dinner and helping Lily pick out her most musical-looking outfit, they arrived at Westside Music Academy. The building was impressive, a renovated Victorian mansion with modern additions housing studios and performance spaces. Eric had driven past it many times, but had never ventured inside, assuming it was well beyond their means. Willow and Hannah were waiting in the lobby, and Lily immediately gravitated toward her new friend. Eric noticed that Willow looked different tonight, still casually dressed in well-fitted jeans and a simple blouse, but there was an elegance to her that he hadn't fully appreciated at the recital. "Thanks for the invite," he said as they followed a small crowd toward one of the larger rooms. "This place is something else," Willow nodded. "It's a wonderful facility. The director is passionate about making music education accessible to all students, regardless of financial circumstances." The information session was comprehensive, outlining the various summer programs and the scholarship opportunities available. Eric listened attentively, calculating costs and possibilities, while Lily sat forward in her chair, absorbing every word. The director, an energetic woman in her 50s, emphasized the Academy's commitment to nurturing young talent through need-based scholarships. When the formal presentation concluded, attendees were encouraged to mingle and ask questions. Eric approached the scholarship coordinator, a folder of forms in hand, while Lily and Hannah examined a grand piano in the corner of the room. "Miss Wilson, so lovely to see you," the director called, approaching Willow with obvious delight. "Will you be joining our faculty for the master class series again this summer?" Eric paused, overhearing the exchange with curiosity. Willow smiled warmly. "I've blocked out the last 2 weeks of July, as promised." "Wonderful. The students were so inspired last year." "Your insights on Chopin were transformative for many of them." As the director moved on to greet other attendees, Eric rejoined Willow with a puzzled expression. "Master class series? I thought you said you studied piano many years ago." A faint blush colored Willow's cheeks. "I may have understated things a bit. I do have some background in performance." Before Eric could press further, Lily bounded over, her eyes wide with excitement. "Dad, they have a real Steinway here, like the ones professional pianists use in concerts." "It's pretty impressive," Eric agreed, watching his daughter's animated face. "The director wants to hear Lily play," Hannah announced. "She said they have time for a quick audition now, if that's okay." Eric looked to Willow in surprise. "An audition? Already?" "It's informal," Willow explained. "Just to give them an idea of her skill level for placement purposes." Lily clutched his hand. "Can I, Dad? Please?" Seeing her excitement, Eric nodded. "Of course, sweetheart. Show them what you've got." They followed the director to a smaller recital hall where a sleek black grand piano waited. Lily approached it with reverence, running her fingers lightly across the keys before taking a seat. Eric held his breath as she closed her eyes for a moment, centering herself just as her teacher had taught her. Then she began to play not the Debussy piece from the recital, but a Bach invention that Eric recognized from her practice sessions. Her small hands moved with precision and feeling, filling the room with crisp, clear notes. Eric watched with pride, but also noticed how the director and scholarship coordinator exchanged impressed glances. When Lily finished, there was a moment of appreciative silence before the adults in the room broke into applause. "That was exceptional, Lily," the director said. "Your technical ability and musicality are quite advanced for your age." Lily beamed. "Thank you. I practice every day, even when Dad has to work late." The director smiled at Eric. "You have a very dedicated daughter, Mr. Lawson. I think she would be an excellent candidate for our summer intensive program. Let's discuss scholarship options." As they went through the paperwork process, Eric felt a wave of gratitude. This opportunity would mean so much to Lily, and it seemed increasingly possible that they could make it work financially. When they finally emerged from the academy, the evening air had cooled, and stars were appearing in the darkening sky. Hannah had already left with her mother, but Willow had waited for them. "How did it go?" she asked. "Dad, tell her." Lily bounced on her toes. Eric smiled. "They're offering Lily a substantial scholarship. She'll be able to attend the full 4-week program." "That's wonderful." Willow's genuine happiness for them warmed Eric's heart. "We should celebrate. Are you too hungry? There's a great ice cream place just down the street." Lily looked up at her father with pleading eyes, and Eric laughed. "Ice cream it is." The small parlor was cozy, with vintage booths and the rich scent of homemade waffle cones. After they ordered chocolate chip for Lily, butter pecan for Eric, and strawberry for Willow, they settled into a corner booth. "So," Eric said casually, "a little bird told me you might be more than just a casual piano enthusiast." Willow concentrated on her ice cream. "The director has a tendency to exaggerate." "She called you Professor Wilson when we were leaving," Lily piped up, chocolate smeared adorably around her mouth. Willow sighed with a smile. "I do teach occasionally. Master classes and guest lectures, mostly." "And where do you do these classes when you're not at the academy?" Eric asked, increasingly intrigued. "Various places. Juilliard, Curtis Institute, Royal College of Music in London sometimes." Eric nearly choked on his ice cream. "Juilliard?" "As in, one of the most prestigious music schools in the world." Willow gave a small, almost embarrassed nod. "I'm not there full-time or anything, just guest appearances." "She's being modest," came a voice from behind them. They turned to see an elderly gentleman approaching their table, his eyes fixed on Willow with obvious recognition. "Miss Wilson is one of the finest concert pianists of her generation. My wife and I saw your Tchaikovsky with the Philharmonic last fall. Transcendent." Willow thanked him graciously, and after a brief exchange, he returned to his own table, leaving Eric staring at her with newfound astonishment. "A concert pianist," he said quietly. "That's not exactly financial services." "I do work in financial services," Willow replied. "That wasn't a lie. I manage a foundation that funds arts education initiatives. The performance career is separate, though they do intersect." "Why didn't you mention it before?" Eric asked, not accusingly, just curious. Willow considered the question. "When people find out what I do, it changes how they interact with me. At the recital, you and Lily treated me like a normal person, not Willow Wilson, pianist. It was refreshing." Eric could understand that, but still felt slightly off balance by the revelation. "So you're kind of a big deal, huh?" Lily, who had been quietly absorbing this conversation, suddenly gasped. "Wait, I know who you are now. Your picture is on the wall at Miss Garcia's studio." "You played at Carnegie Hall," Willow smiled gently at Lily. "A few times, yes." "This is so cool," Lily exclaimed, her eyes wide. "Can you teach me something, just one thing?" Willow laughed. "I'd be happy to if your dad doesn't mind." Both pairs of eyes turned expectantly to Eric, who raised his hands in surrender. "Who am I to stand in the way of musical genius being passed down?" For the next 10 minutes, Willow explained a technique for approaching difficult passages to an enraptured Lily, using the table as an impromptu keyboard. Eric watched them, struck by how naturally Willow connected with his daughter and how genuinely invested she seemed in Lily's progress. As the evening wound down and they walked back to their cars, Lily skipped ahead, practicing finger exercises Willow had shown her. "Thank you," Eric said quietly. "Not just for the scholarship help, but for being so kind to her. Music means everything to Lily." "She's a special girl," Willow replied. "Her talent is genuine, but more importantly, she has the passion and discipline to develop it. That's rare at her age." They reached Eric's weathered pickup truck, parked beside a modest blue sedan that surprised him. He'd half expected Willow to drive something more luxurious. "So," he said, suddenly feeling awkward again, "I guess you're pretty busy with concerts and teaching and foundation work." Willow looked at him directly, her hazel eyes warm in the streetlight. "Not too busy for coffee, if you're asking." Eric felt a smile spreading across his face. "I'm asking, Good, tomorrow. There's a place near the construction site downtown, the Cozy Bean, I think it's called. Eric's eyebrows rose. How did you know where I'm working? A slight flush colored Willow's cheeks. I may have Googled you after the recital. The theater renovation has been in the local news. Researching me, huh? Eric teased, oddly flattered. Professional curiosity, she replied with a smile that suggested otherwise. They agreed to meet at 11 the next day, and as Eric drove home with Lily chattering excitedly beside him, he felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Anticipation. The following morning dragged by at the construction site. Eric found himself checking his watch repeatedly as noon approached. He'd told his foreman he was taking a slightly longer lunch break, something he rarely did. At precisely 10:55, he cleaned up as best he could, though there was no disguising the nature of his work. His jeans and work boots were dusty, and despite washing his hands, there were still traces of his morning's labor evident. The Cozy Bean was bustling with the late-morning crowd when he arrived. He spotted Willow immediately, seated by a window in a simple white blouse and navy blazer. She looked professional but approachable, her hair falling in loose waves around her shoulders. "Sorry about the dust," he said as he joined her. "Occupational hazard," Willow smiled. "I like a man who works with his hands." They ordered a simple black coffee for him, a chai latte for her, and fell into easy conversation. Eric learned that Willow had grown up in a middle-class home in the Midwest, the daughter of a high school music teacher and a nurse. Her exceptional talent had been recognized early, leading to scholarships and eventually an international career. "But you don't live abroad?" Eric asked. "I did for a while London, Berlin, Tokyo for a year, but this is home. My sister's here with her family and I like having roots." She paused. "What about you? Have you always lived here?" Eric nodded. "Born and raised, left briefly for college on a baseball scholarship, but came back when my dad got sick. Finished my degree in construction management at the local university while helping run his business." "You were going to be a professional baseball player?" Eric laughed. "That was the dream. Reality had other plans." He took a sip of his coffee. "But I don't regret it. Dad taught me everything about construction before he passed, and now I get to build things that last." "Like the theater restoration?" "Exactly. That building has been part of this community for 100 years. When we're done, it'll be around for 100 more. As they talked, Eric found himself increasingly drawn to Willow's unpretentious nature. Despite her success, there was nothing showy or self-important about her. She listened with genuine interest to his stories about work challenges and raising Lily, offering insights without judgment. "How do you balance it all?" he asked eventually. "The concerts, the foundation, the teaching." Willow's expression turned thoughtful. "Carefully, with lots of planning, but I'm fortunate my career allows me flexibility that many don't have. I can choose which engagements to accept, which projects to pursue." "And which recitals to attend," Eric added with a smile. "Exactly. Though I have to admit, I didn't expect to meet someone like you that night." The directness of her statement caught him off guard. "Someone like me? Someone genuine, unpretentious, completely devoted to his daughter." Her eyes met his. "It's refreshing in my world." Eric felt warmth spread through him that had nothing to do with his coffee. "Well, I didn't expect to meet a world-famous pianist pretending to be a regular audience member, so I guess we're even." Their laughter dissolved any remaining tension, and by the time Eric reluctantly announced he needed to get back to work, it felt as though they'd known each other much longer than 2 days. "I'd like to see you again," he said as they stood outside the coffee shop. "Maybe dinner." With actual adult conversation, no ice cream or children's recitals involved. Willow's smile brightened her entire face. "I'd like that very much." The following weeks unfolded in a way Eric could never have anticipated. Dinner led to more dinners, to long walks through the park, to Willow attending one of Lily's regular lessons as a surprise guest. Each encounter deepened his appreciation for her combination of extraordinary talent and genuine humility. He learned that while her career had brought financial success, she lived relatively modestly, investing most of her earnings in her foundation to support music education in underserved communities. The blue sedan wasn't an anomaly. Willow simply didn't care about status symbols. For her part, Willow seemed equally drawn to Eric's steady reliability and the passion he brought to both his work and parenting. She found his candor about their financial struggles refreshing after years of moving in circles where such topics were considered impolite. One evening, after Lily had gone to bed, they sat on Eric's small balcony overlooking the city lights. It wasn't a luxury view, but the night was clear and warm. "I have to leave for a short tour next week," Willow said, her hand resting lightly in his. 3 cities, 10 days. Eric nodded, trying to ignore the sinking feeling in his stomach. He'd known this moment would come. Her career required travel, performances, time away. "Where to?" "Chicago, Boston, New York. All domestic, thankfully." "Lily will miss you," he said, then added more softly, "So will I." Willow turned to face him. "I've been thinking about that, about us. I know we haven't known each other long, but it feels like we have," Eric finished, understanding exactly what she meant. "Yes." Her eyes held his in the dim light. "I don't want this to be casual, Eric. I care about you and Lily too much for that." Eric felt something expand in his chest, hope, possibility, feelings he'd nearly forgotten. "I care about you too, more than I expected to." When she leaned in to kiss him, it felt both new and somehow familiar, as if they'd been moving toward this moment all along. Her lips were soft against his, her hand gentle on his cheek. "We'll figure it out," she whispered when they finally parted. "The logistics, the schedules, all of it." Eric believed her. After years of managing everything alone, the idea of planning a future with someone by his side, someone who understood responsibility and commitment, felt revolutionary. The night before Willow's departure, she invited Eric and Lily to dinner at her home. Eric had been curious about where she lived, half expecting a downtown penthouse or sprawling estate. Instead, they arrived at a charming craftsman bungalow in a pleasant neighborhood not unlike their own, though admittedly better maintained. The interior revealed Willow's true wealth, not in ostentatious furnishings, but in carefully chosen art, shelves of books, and in the corner of the living room, a stunning grand piano that gleamed in the evening light. "Your house is beautiful," Lily breathed, moving immediately to the piano with reverent steps. "Thank you. It was my grandmother's," Willow explained. "I had the chance to buy it when I was starting out. It needed a lot of work then." "Like our theater," Eric observed, noting the original woodwork and carefully preserved character. "Exactly. I've always believed in saving beautiful things with good bones." Dinner was simple but delicious. Pasta. Willow had prepared herself, fresh bread, a salad with vegetables from her small garden. Afterward, at Lily's eager request, Willow played for them, her fingers moving across the keys with effortless grace as she performed a piece by Chopin that filled the house with emotion. When she finished, Eric was speechless, struck anew by the depth of her talent. Lily, however, had no such restraint. "That was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard," she declared with absolute certainty. "When I grow up, I want to play just like you." Willow smiled, genuinely touched. "That's the highest compliment I could receive, Lily." Later, after Lily had fallen asleep on the comfortable guest room bed, Eric and Willow sat in her garden under a canopy of stars. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "I always assumed successful musicians lived more, extravagantly." Willow laughed softly. "Some do. But I grew up watching my parents work hard for everything we had. That doesn't leave you just because your bank account changes." Eric nodded, understanding completely. "It's one of the things I admire most about you." You could have name-dropped at that recital, had everyone falling over themselves to impress you. Instead, you just sat beside some random single dad in worn jeans. "Not random," she corrected, taking his hand. "I noticed you before you noticed me." The way you watched Lily play, like nothing else in the world mattered. The gentle way you spoke to her afterward. Those things tell you more about a person than their clothes or their bank account. The warmth of her words wrapped around him like a promise. I'm going to miss you, he admitted. It's only 10 days, she reminded him, and I've arranged something for while I'm gone. Oh, the director at Westside agreed to let Lily attend their after-school program every day until the summer camp starts. No charge, it's a scholarship evaluation period. She'll get additional instruction and practice time on their instruments. Eric was momentarily overwhelmed by her thoughtfulness. Willow, that's incredible, but I can't possibly accept. It's not charity, she interrupted gently. It's an investment in exceptional talent. The Academy does this regularly for promising students. I just made them aware of Lily. He considered this, recognizing that his pride shouldn't stand in the way of Lily's opportunity. Thank you. She'll be thrilled. The 10 days of Willow's absence passed more quickly than Eric expected, filled with work demands and Lily's excited reports from the Academy. When Willow returned, there was no awkwardness, no sense of having to reconnect. They simply picked up where they'd left off, their relationship deepening with each passing week. Summer arrived, bringing with it Lily's intensive camp experience. Eric watched with pride as his daughter flourished under the Academy's guidance, her confidence growing alongside her skill. Willow attended her performances whenever possible, becoming a mentor as well as a friend to the eager 9-year-old. One evening in late July, as they watched Lily practicing on the small keyboard in their apartment, Willow broached a subject Eric hadn't expected. I've been thinking, she said cautiously. My house has 4 bedrooms, including the one I use as an office. The piano sits unused most days when I'm not practicing, and it's in the same school district, so Lily wouldn't have to transfer. Eric looked at her, understanding slowly dawning. Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? Willow met his gaze steadily. I love you, Eric. I love Lily. The last 6 months have shown me what I want my life to be, and it's this us together. Not just for dinner dates and weekend outings, but every day. Eric took her hands in his, feeling the calluses that spoke of thousands of hours at the keyboard. It's a big step. I know. But think about it, Lily would have space to practice. You wouldn't have to work those weekend jobs just to make rent. And I wouldn't have to come home to an empty house after tours. The vulnerability in her voice touched him deeply. Despite her success, Willow had been lonely in ways he understood all too well. I love you too, he said, the words coming easily because they were true. But I need you to know something. If we do this, I'm not looking to be supported. I pay my own way. Willow smiled, squeezing his hands. I would never insult you by suggesting otherwise, but maybe we can see it as a partnership, you handling the renovations that old house constantly needs, me covering utilities and property taxes. Both contributing what we can. Put that way, it made sense. Equal partners with different resources, working toward a shared life. We should talk to Lily, he said. This affects her too. But as they both looked over at the little girl lost in her music, her face a study in concentration so like her father's, they already knew what her answer would be. 3 months later, on a crisp autumn day, Eric and Lily moved into Willow's home, their home now. The transition was smoother than any of them had anticipated, as if the spaces had been waiting for them. Eric's furniture went into storage, except for Lily's bedroom set, which they installed in her new room, painted the same shade of blue as her old one. Eric converted the detached garage into a workshop where he could pursue the woodworking that had always been more hobby than necessity. Willow's concert schedule became a family calendar, with Eric and Lily attending performances when possible and celebrating her return when travel took her too far. On quiet evenings, the house filled with music, sometimes Willow playing alone, sometimes teaching Lily, and increasingly, duets between the two of them that brought tears to Eric's eyes with their beauty. 1 year to the day after they'd met at the elementary school recital, Eric proposed in that same auditorium after hours, having arranged with the principal to use the space. Willow, believing she was there for a student showcase, walked into a room illuminated only by candlelight, with Eric and Lily waiting on the stage. "I thought we should come back to where it all began," Eric said, as she approached them in amazement. "Where I sat next to the most talented woman in the room without having any idea who she really was." Lily, practically vibrating with excitement, handed him a small box. "I know now," Eric continued, opening the box to reveal a ring that was simple but elegant, purchased with money he'd saved from his new position overseeing multiple restoration projects around the city. "I know you're brilliant and kind and incredibly patient when I try to assemble furniture without reading instructions. I know you love my daughter as if she were your own, and that you've never once made me feel like less, because I can't give you the material things your success has earned you." Willow's eyes shone with unshed tears as she looked from Eric to Lily and back again. "The thing is," Eric said, his voice steady despite his racing heart, "I can give you a family. A home filled with love and music and probably too many power tools. If that's enough, if we're enough, I'm asking you to marry me." "Yes," Willow whispered, then louder, "Yes." As she embraced them both, the ring momentarily forgotten in the joy of their shared embrace. Later that night, after Lily had gone to bed, still excited from her role in the proposal, Eric and Willow sat at the piano bench together, her head resting on his shoulder. "Do you ever think about how unlikely this all is?" he asked. "A struggling construction manager and a world-renowned pianist." Willow looked up at him with a smile. "Not unlikely at all. We're perfectly matched. You build beautiful things with your hands. I make beautiful sounds with mine. We both value creation and preservation." Put that way, it made perfect sense. Different paths leading to the same place, a home filled with music, love, and the promise of many more recitals to come, this time as a complete family.